Hello YouTube, I'm Nathaniel Likens. How y'all doing today? It is Sunday, March what? 19th? Is it the 19th? I think it's the 19th. And it's 7:17 in the morning. I'm just getting off work and leaving. What are we going to talk about today? Well, there's a reason that I'm trying to do this. We'll see what happens. Again, my phone's been having issues. I don't know if we're going to get a full recording. And my lovely little stand has, it's melted, is the best way to describe it. There is a nasty glue stain left on my window. Nice. I'll have to worry about that later. There's nothing I can do about it right now, especially during the middle of a work week for me. Tonight is my last night for this week. Then I get a few days off. Then we do it all over again. Like this 12-hour horse crap from Mars is getting on my nerves. I can't freaking stand this stuff. It is a giant pain in the butt. Anyway, so what are we going to talk about? Because I've been rambling for a few minutes. I completely and utterly forgot what it was that I was thinking of. There was a specific item that I was thinking of doing, like before I even started the engine. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'll do it. I might do it. I may not. I'm not really sure what it was. I really don't know. Interesting. It was on my mind. I was sitting here thinking about it, and I was like, okay, we're going to go ahead and try this. And I've already forgotten. So now I got to come up with a new subject. And the first thing that jumped in my mind is, I saw an article last night. Of course, I always see an article. There's only a couple things I can do at work. Work and look up random information that is coming across, and that is like blinding my phone. Yeah, that's gonna have to do. What it was is the particular article was, I think, the 10 or 15 biggest movie plot holes, or worst movie plot holes, or movies with multiple plot holes or something. And one of them caught my eye, and it is absolutely the biggest amount of BS in movie history. And I can't believe people like the film, and it looks like it is storming towards my home. Yeah. What movie is it? What plot holes are we talking about? So, the movie in question is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Okay, so if you're familiar with the plot holes in there, there's a lot. And they're like not even small. They're like massive, like WTF, what is this story kind of plot holes. So let's recap a little bit on this before we get into it. So first and foremost, the whole reason that the movie was pushed back on its release was so that they could make the Solo movie and introduce the concept of starships needing fuel. Yeah, I kid you not, that happened. They decided that they were going to have a story that required spaceships to have fuel. And not just any spaceships that are so far advanced in our timeline that they really shouldn't need any kind of fuel. It should be like some kind of generator kept on board the frickin' starships. They need fuel. That's why Solo movie was made, to introduce the concept of fuel for spaceships. That was a bomb of a movie. It's not as bad as episodes 7, 8, and 9, but it's pretty bad. It's low on my list. I did like the backstory of Han meeting Chewie, but that was about it. Anyway, the first plot hole on this is the whole concept, in my opinion. Maybe not yours, maybe not whoever ends up watching this. But the first major plot hole is the idea that starships need fuel. Okay, we do have some kind of variation of fuel with other starships, like the lithium crystals in Star Trek. But most of the time in movies, starships don't really run on fuel. They have some kind of generator. Regardless, they need fuel. They're running out of fuel. So the plan, we don't find out till later. The idea is that they need to get fuel. They have a contact on a nearby planet that can hopefully get them some fuel. Okay. Which makes for the longest, most drawn out BS I've ever heard of. And the idea that they're not at light speed, okay? First off, I want to make that clear. They are not in light speed. They are at normal speed, whatever you want to call that. They are not moving extremely fast. So the fact that they are able to launch an escape pod or whatever it was, I don't really remember, to this other planet in order to hopefully secure some fuel is ridiculous. Okay? The First Order is right behind them. They could have intercepted them at any moment. Why they didn't, I don't know. But that's the first problem. They need fuel, they're running out, and they send off a small group to get fuel that proves to be absolutely pointless. Literally this whole plot line right there, I'm just like, what was the point of this? It was a waste of time. Most of the movie is just them running out of fuel. Well, if they're running out of fuel, they should have done it a long time ago. Okay, that's the first major problem. The second, and this is the one that really gets me, forget the fuel. The second major plot hole in this movie, they are being chased by the First Order through empty space. Empty space. This is where the article got the whole chase sequence wrong. They said that they flat out, for whatever reason, did not fire upon the rebel ship. Holy cow. That dude pulled up right on my butt really quick. But the truth is, in that sequence, what is stated is that the rebel ship is out of range. Okay, I don't care if you're using laser weapons or ballistic weapons. In space, nothing is out of range. Okay? Nothing is out of range. If you want to shoot at a target, if you're using laser weapons, first and foremost, laser weapon's going to go forever. And nothing's going to stop it unless it hits something. It's just open season, man. You're not going to worry about not being able to hit something with a laser weapon. The second is the ballistic weapon. Even if they were out of the ballistic weapon's fuel load range, which is actually kind of ridiculous, but you know, whatever, it would still keep going. And the chase in the entire movie is pretty dang straightforward. They are moving at a very, very slow pace, and you're going to be able to hit them. If you fire a bullet at them, you're going to hit them. Because that momentum is not going to change in space. Once that bullet is going at a certain speed, it's going to hit them. If you send a frickin' missile at them, it is going to continue going at a certain speed. There's no reason that they shouldn't have been able to shoot them out of the sky. So the idea that they are out of range is ridiculous. That is the most absurd thing I think I've ever heard. If it were on a planet, maybe. In space, no. You're gonna be able to hit them. that bugs the heck out of me to this day. I don't know who the morons were that greenlighted that script, but they are absolutely stupid. So that's those points on the ridiculousness of the plot there. Now, the other portion of the plot that was mentioned is the idea that Luke Skywalker left behind a map to where he is. Okay, first off, wrong film. That's in The Force Awakens. Second off, you're right. It is absolutely retarded. However, you miss a tidbit there. I don't remember the exact number, but I do remember that they stated that the map was separated into at least 4 pieces. I'm thinking it was 8, but at least 4 pieces. They stated that. And then at the end of the movie, when BB-8 or R2 wakes up because of BB-8, there's only 2 pieces of the map. There's the piece that R2 has, and then there's the piece that BB-8 has. What? They flat out state early on in the movie that there are multiple pieces of this map. And suddenly there's only 2 pieces, and oh look, we have both of them. What? Not to mention, like, Mark Hamill even said that he didn't like the story and he thought it was going to be terrible. I didn't like it. I don't even like Rey. Rey is not even that interesting of a character. She is... Honestly, she's the most bizarre... She's more bizarre than Luke Skywalker in the original ones. Because she just comes out of nowhere, suddenly has force powers that she has somehow mastered out of nowhere. Rey just makes absolutely no sense. And one of the biggest things that I used to talk with one of the guys that I used to work with was the fact that I don't care who you are and how good you think you are with a sword, a lightsaber is very different. And I think I even pointed this out in a different video and even stated what I want you to do is I want you to go and try and do some of the same maneuvers that you would with a sword, but with a flashlight. And then I want to know how many times you accidentally shine the light in your face. How many times the light crossed one of your limbs. And that's the problem, is the actual, because I do know a little bit about sword fighting, we'll say it that way. I am used to the weight of a sword and how you can feel where the weight of the tip is. If that makes any sense to any non-weapons people. I don't really know how to put that. You can actually feel the weight of it. A lightsaber is completely different. The only weight that you feel is the weight of the hilt. You don't really know where the tip of that weapon is unless you can visually look at it. And most of the time when you're fighting, you're not looking at where the tip of your weapon is. You know where it is based on the weight. However, like I just said, lightsaber is slightly different. In order to know exactly where the tip of that weapon is, they use the Force to sense where it is at all times. So when they're doing those fancy spins around their back, they're using the Force to understand where it is at the time. And I'm completely nerding out on you right there, but the idea that in the first movie, both Rey and Finn were able to wield it effectively against Ben Solo is the absolute stupidest thing I think I've ever seen in cinema. Ever. And I've seen some pretty dumb things, but that is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen somebody do, especially with a series like Star Wars. Disney and their directors obviously had no clue how a lightsaber works or how to treat it. There is a big difference between it and, quote, a laser sword. We're not going to get into the specifics of the differences because it gets really retarded. And Mark Hamill even made a joke about that, and that's one of the lines in the second movie is, you think I'm going to walk out there with a laser sword? They're not laser swords. There's a big difference. But the point is, you got a trained Jedi, now turned Sith, who knows how to use a lightsaber, who knows how to use the Force to sense where the tip of that blade is, losing to two people that have never seen a lightsaber, don't even know how to use it. It's retarded. Now, a lot of people like to point out that throughout the movie, they show you just how strong the bowcaster is. That is, the bowcaster is Chewie's weapon. They make a point of showing you just how powerful a bowcaster is, which is a little bit ridiculous, but whatever. It's a laser weapon producing a laser beam that has a concussive force. What? Anyway, they make a point of showing you just how powerful this thing is, and Ben gets shot with it. So the idea there is he's in a weakened state. Okay, I don't care how weakened he is. If you hurt a trained soldier badly enough and then put them in a ring against somebody that has never fought in their entire freaking lives, they're still going to win. I don't care how hurt they are. Unless they're literally dying, they're going to be fine. They're going to win that fight. Or already dead. Like, you'd have to wound them to the point of them about to die for that to have any kind of meaning. So the concept that Ben Solo would lose against Rey and Finn is just ridiculous. I absolutely hated that. Now, we need to get back to The Last Jedi, because there was one more plot hole in that, and I don't really remember what it was that they mentioned, because there was 3 big ones, and then you had the one that I was like, that's the wrong movie, retard. Was the third one, because you had the whole running out of fuel makes no sense. The out of range is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. So the rebels are the ones running out of fuel. First Order's not running out of fuel. How come the First Order just doesn't speed up a little bit and overtake the ship? Like, why don't they go ahead and speed up a little bit, and then they're in range to start shooting at the rebel ship? Why didn't they do that? That doesn't make any sense. And actually, that's not the one. I just remembered what the actual third plot hole was. So at the end of the movie, they get all these all the crew, all the people inside escape pods, and they jettison off to the planet for the final stand of the movie, which isn't even the final stand, it's just of the movie, it's the final confrontation. The ship's running out of fuel. How do all these escape pods have fuel? If you're in a dire situation like that, the escape pods they're going to be a hindrance. They are going to be a problem. So why wouldn't you just take the fuel that is available in all these escape pods and put it into the main ship and try to escape that way. My biggest concern there, or my biggest problem with the whole escape pod sequence is, again, they could have easily overtaken them, and they didn't for whatever reason. And for whatever reason, the First Order's sensors are apparently not strong enough to realize there's a whole bunch of escape pods being sent off. Now, if I recall correctly, they do end up shooting down a few of them. Not every single escape pod makes it to the planet. But even then, they're still cornered. So, yeah. You got all that weirdness going on. So, that... And we're not even going to talk about Rise of Skywalker. She's not even a freaking Skywalker. She's a Palpatine. That is probably the most blasphemous thing I've ever heard of. And again, there's still some people that are like, yeah, these movies are good. You got a Palpatine just declared herself that she's a Skywalker. She is not a Skywalker at all. She has no DNA connection to the Skywalkers whatsoever. And then there's the idea that Palpatine had kids? What? He was an egotistical maniac who was probably, arguably, the strongest Sith Lord, sort of, in all of Legends canon. It really depends. Like, the old Sith Lords hated Palpatine because he relied on the Force too much. If you get into the details of Palpatine, Palpatine was a horrible fighter. He relied on cunning and cheaty, underhanded tactics, which is why he won. But the old Sith Lords didn't like him. They think that in order to really be, and this is part of the reason why if I say this correctly, the fighting style katakana was never used by the Sith or Jedi. It's just an underhanded, dirty tactic, and it's not like a fair fight. And the Sith 100% believe in strength. Basically, if you have to resort to dirty tactics to win, you're not strong. You're weak. Basically, it was essentially a cop-out for why this form of lightsaber combat was never utilized in the world of Star Wars. And it's a brilliant reasoning, but it's so dumb at the same time. I know we're way off track now, but the idea of how this works is you effectively turn off your lightsaber, forcing your opponent to miss a swing or whatever, leaving them open to your counterattack by turning your lightsaber back on. There are legends, I don't know any specifics on it. There are legends characters that did use this to some degree of success, but for the most part, it is quite often met with, oh, that didn't work. And the reason being is that you're fighting another Force user. They can sense what you're about to do even before you do it. It's sense motive, basically. And it allows them to realize that, hey, they're about to try and use a underhanded tactic, so I've got to block like this. So the idea is that the tactic, even though it sounds like it would work amazingly, really failed against another Force user. But yeah, that's what we're going to leave at right there. So I hope you guys like this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a blessed day. And I am messing up everything right now. So with that being said, I'm Tannis Likens, and subscribe. And I'll see you later.